Previously on Evolution on the Mic.
And we are back, season 5, The Leader in You, episode 5, best practices for developing leadership skills. On today's episode, we are going to discuss the best practices for developing the leadership skills that you need to be an effective leader. I had just came from New York, started a job in Florida, and 6 months later, doing this job, I've never done it before. I got promoted within 6 months. Remember, God has his plan, right? You can think something, but God is going to be like, you thought that, not me.
You are a leader in some way, shape, or form. Whether you believe it or not, whether you're unsure if you are, whether someone's told you it before and you still are like, I don't know what they see, you are a leader. What that leadership looks like and how you define it is completely up to you.
If that's your weakness and you know that that's needed in a position or in a skill that you're trying to develop, go into it and face it. So I just wanted to put that out there, that it's normal to feel afraid and not want to ask the questions, but there's so much good that comes when you do, because you can take that with you for years to come, because now you have that knowledge.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Yeah,
yep.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, and as I was thinking about that in asking those questions, not being afraid, I mean, there's a lot of things that come with being a leader. And when I think of skills, like skills that I think are really important, communication comes to mind for me. And when you think about each of these different leadership styles, they all communicate in their own ways to achieve the mission for that type of leadership style, whether you're being transformative, whether you are being authentic in how you're going about and you're being very vulnerable and raw with what you're sharing, whether you're in a servant role in which you're being a servant leader and there's a lot of things that you sacrifice for others because you want others to move ahead and you're helping to create that pathway for them to move ahead. There's a certain way in which you communicate. And I think it's important, and this is just me speaking from my own experience, the leaders that I've struggled with are the leaders who tend to struggle with communication. And I'll be the first to admit it. From a communication standpoint, I'm not always great at communicating. It's one of the things that I have. No, I'm not. I have my moments.
Give me an example.
When it's hard stuff, like when there's hard things that come up that you have to communicate. And we were talking about this the other day when we were kind of prepping for the show, and Ariana and I was just kind of talking about our experiences in leadership and what we've been through. And sometimes when you have to communicate something that's going to impact a team, like when you have, let's say, for instance, maybe there's going to be a massive round of layoffs. And you have to communicate it in a way that it doesn't send mass pandemonium, because when a layoff is happening, what you don't want to happen is everyone to get spooked and then people leave, because the company still has to survive, right? There's just they're in a financial position where they have to unfortunately let some people go because they have more people than work that needs to get done. The revenue and the financials just don't make sense. And so they have to make that tough decision, but you have to be able to say it in a way which the people don't feel unmotivated. The people don't feel like, you said, I'm just a number, I can let go at any time. And I've found I found that communicating a layoff versus communicating a promotion versus communicating this is an area you need to improve upon are all vastly different. And how you go about communicating those are extremely important, because how you say it matters. Believe it or not, how you say it matters. But you want to be aware of, like, when you communicate, what does that mean for other people? How are they perceiving what you're saying? You want to ask right questions. You want to ask questions to understand how to communicate something, because it may be something that someone's not understanding clearly and correctly. Like, one of the things I had a manager do, and they had actually kind of taught me this skill as well, is they said, when you tell someone something, ask them to repeat it back to you. Like, tell someone something, ask them to repeat it back to you. And what it will do is it'll allow you to see if they truly understood what you said. And it also gives you feedback on the things that you're not communicating clearly. So it gives you that sense of self-awareness. And I think another way you can do it is just make sure that you are understanding other people's perspectives when you are communicating. Don't communicate being almost like blind to what everyone else may be feeling or what they may be thinking. You want to communicate from a way in which you're taking that in consideration. Does any of that like resonate with you, like Ariana, as you think about like skills and things and what you've even experienced in your leadership and through your leadership program?
Yeah, definitely. How you speak to me, how you communicate with me, the timing of when you communicate to me, all of that makes a big difference in how I receive it and how
Mm-hmm.
I act on that information. Right? Because if I'm doing a great job and you're giving me constructive feedback and you're telling me good job, great, like I'm going to keep doing that. But a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the times I've noticed in jobs, right? These these supervisors, bosses, managers, however, whatever you want to call them, they're great at telling you when you're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing something good, you don't, it's like you don't hear nothing. So, sometimes we want that. So for me, communicating effectively when I am not doing something, when I am doing good is important for me. But if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing something right, I'm gonna need you to come correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a way that you need to approach me so that I can stay like, my morale for that job and my position and my work ethic can stay great. Right? Because if you're gonna bring me down, I am not going to perform at my best because now you
Right.
put me in my feelings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just depending on, again, how you communicate. So definitely having great communication skills, being aware of who you're speaking to, because we're all different. We all have different personalities. We're all going to take things very differently. So it's knowing who you're speaking to and how to present what you're going to present to them in the way and in the timing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have to give you some bad news, Antoine, maybe something you're not doing, something that you did wrong, and it's in the middle of the day and you're already like stressed and overwhelmed and you just have a lot going on, and for me to stop you in your day, that's going to cause conflict because now you're already on guard. You already are feeling overwhelmed and stressed and a lot of pressure. So
Right.
is that okay for me to do that if something could wait? I'd rather wait till the next day or leave you an email and say, hey, Antoine, there's a few things that I would like to discuss with you. You know, let's talk tomorrow at XY time or today at XY time, preparing you
Mm-hmm.
for a conversation. Right. And even
Yeah.
maybe mentioning what it could be just so that you're not in a frantic or Rihanna's asking for a meeting with me and I don't even know what. Those are things that you do to help the situation. And so to me, it's about communicating when you're communicating and being aware of the other person. It all
Right.
matters. It's definitely
Like that.
important. There's something else that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention, and it's seeking feedback, right? When maybe you are in a leadership position, right? And you want to know if you're doing good, it's ideal for you to go to your supervisor, to your superior, and ask questions. And if you're not in a leadership position, maybe you're just again, head of household, you know what I mean, your husband, you're the wife, and you can ask feedback maybe to your kids, to your
Mm-hmm.
husband, maybe to your best friend, to your mom. Ask, you can seek feedback as well on how you're doing in your communication, in your decision making skills, in your emotional intelligence, which is very important. We want to be very aware of our emotions and aware of other people's emotions, because that's going to carry into how we communicate and how we present ourselves. So you want to be able to have this awareness, right? And you can get that by asking questions. So let's go to, if you are in a leadership role and you have a boss, someone that's been mentoring you, helping you learn the ropes, and you're all like, okay, I've been doing this for some time, but I don't really know if I'm doing this correctly, or I really want to grow, but I don't know what to do next. Like, you can go to that person and ask for constructive feedback. Of course, make sure the timing is right, right? Because you don't want to do it and your boss is all over the place, right? Again, you have to know when to do it and how to approach it and how to set the stage for the conversation. So maybe in your job, that's an like the annual, like the
In your view.
the annual review
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to give you that constructive feedback, but maybe your boss doesn't believe in that and you're going to create it yourself, right? You're going to get your annual review and you can just go and ask questions like, what have I been doing right? Like, what have I been doing that I can improve on? How can I improve? What tips do you give me? If you want to get a promotion, like, vocalize that. I want to get a promotion. What are the things that I can do to position me for a promotion in the next 6 months or for our next annual review? And you can get that feedback in so that you can see the things that you need to do to develop, in your position, to develop as a worker, to develop, to get to a leadership position if you're not already. But if you are, how can you reach the next level? Right. And in every job, you should be able to have a next level. Once you reach a cap at a job, I am sorry to tell you this, but you have to find another job, right? And the reason is because we always want to evolve, we want to grow, we want to get better. We do not want no one to keep us tapped out, right? At one level, like at what point do I grow, right? So you can then ask your boss that question. I've been here for X amount of time and I want to get to the next level, not today, but I want to continue seeing myself progress. What do you recommend I can do? What am I doing right? What can I improve on? Do you recommend any courses that I can take? Sometimes your boss will even pay for them, some trainings that you can do. I know my ex-boss was great with that. If I found something that I would like to learn, he wouldn't mind telling me just put the business credit card and, so that I can grow, in the company. So seeking feedback will be ideal if you're someone that wants to improve in your abilities and your leadership abilities. And if you're at home or with a good friend or with your family, with your kids, you can ask your kids how you're doing. Like, how has mom been with her communication? How has mom been with her emotional intelligence? Your husband, like your wife, like, how am I doing as a wife? Where do you rate our relationship? Like, ask these questions, seek feedback, because that's the only way you're going to know how well you're doing or how not well you're doing and what you can do to get better. What do you think about that, Antoine?
I think
In
it's
your experiences?
I think it's so critical. And I actually think about my own life. I wish I asked for more feedback. That way I can understand where I'm at. And I do sometimes, but I don't do it as much as I probably should. And I'm saying should because I think that you should always know where you're at and how you're progressing and have some way to track that progress. And it's easy to think that you've either reached a level in which you have either understood everything or you think you've got it. And I think to me, when you have reached that point, it's time to pivot. Because if you think you've got it figured all out, then you're missing something because things are always evolving, things are always growing. And so, yeah, I think the feedback is really important. And where that plays out to me for someone that's listening, if you're like, well, you know, when would I ask for feedback? Well, if you're just starting out in your career and you're just starting out as a leader, maybe you're new to being a manager, maybe just recently, like Ariana, so you just worked for 6 months and they just promoted you. I think it's good to even ask, like, and this might sound wild to say, but I think it's important to understand the full breadth of the conversation in this in the situation. Maybe ask, "Hey, I'm so excited about this role. I'm just curious, what were some of the things that I did that stood out to you that made you want to move me into this position?" And I think it's those type of questions that when you ask, it gives you so much information about yourself, about the things you're doing right and the things that you could be doing better and the things you can improve. And to me, that's what the great leaders are doing. They realize that today where I'm at is going to be very different where I'm going to be at in 10 years. And to close that gap, I have to understand what things I need to improve along the way. And so
You
to
know
me,
what
that
they told me? Because I asked, like, what was it about me? I was only there 6 months, and I
you
did
did
ask.
ask that
Yeah, I
question.
did.
Of course you
And
did.
they said that I was they seen that I would help out someone while having my own caseload. I would step in and help someone on their caseload. Like if
Ah,
someone needed to pick up a kid from Port St. Lucie, which is like an hour away from me, late at night, they is like Ariana will be the one to volunteer. Don't worry, girl, I'll go with you. I'll go with you to the foster home to pick up that child or whatever it was. And they said that they noticed that I would do that volunteering, that I would be
mhm,
the first one to say, don't worry, I'll help out, or I'll help this person figure that out, or I'll take on more. And that was just me being me, being helpful. Like if I could, I would, like, that's just it came very natural. I wasn't doing that because I wanted a promotion or wanted anything like that. I was like, me being me. And I noticed a lot of the times in a job, me being me is like, now the most people don't do the things that I do, me just being me. And I don't know if it's because I'm from New York, and in New York we just have a different hustle. We just have a different way of being where we can take on a lot. Because in New York, I had a lot of patients when I was working at the hospital, and I was always overwhelmed. When I came here, I'm like, this is hard. Like, yeah, don't work hard. Hard
mhm,
is when I was working in New York. All the jobs
mhm,
I had in New York was hard and like long hours, and like I will go home drained, and I worked very hard. That was just the nature, the culture of New York living, the hustle
mhm,
and bustle of New York, fast
mhm.
pace. I came here and people would work hard, and I was like, this is not hard. Like I could take on more. because like I wasn't reaching that level of being drained until I got promoted to supervisor. Then yeah, I was just tired all the time. But then when it was just my caseload, I was doing mine and I was eager to help other people. It was like my caseload is good. I could take on more. And that's when they said that they noticed that there's a leadership in me, because most people would not be willing to do their caseload and volunteer, just say, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll go, I'll take that on. And I did it so lovingly and so willingly and, volunteering, that was like the main thing, that she probably said other things, but that's what like I remembered, because I know those moments when someone in my team, at that time when I wasn't a supervisor, just, one of the girls that was in our team, when she needed help, I just remember like, girl, don't worry, I got you, I'll go. Like, don't worry, don't stress. You're not gonna go by yourself. And I remember how good it felt for me to do that. That I was like, you're gonna promote me because of something that I did and it felt good to do. Like it's mind blowing. But yeah, definitely having that feedback has imprinted in me, like, who I am, who am I naturally. Like, I'm gonna over deliver, I'm gonna overdo, I'm gonna, and that's just again innate in me. I can't help it. To like, give me one thing, I'm gonna try to make 10 things out of it. Like, I'm not gonna leave it at one, I'm gonna multiply it. That's just, my personality.
Yeah. And now those things are what leads you to continue to prop you up into those positions of leadership. And that's the things that people are looking for. And I think even when I think about my own life, there are times also where you'll get feedback of things that you just need to improve in. Like, hey, I think you have a great personality in the way you bring things. Sometimes when you communicate and say certain things, they come across harsh, right? Like and just being aware of that, and how, for those that are listening, how it plays out is you receive that feedback, and then what do you do next? You take action, right? Someone gives you that feedback. Don't just sit on it like, oh, well, that's just who I am, right? No, if you want to improve in that area, and again, only if you want to. If you're satisfied with being the leader who, is harsh and no one really like, fine, be that person. But I'd encourage you to seek ways to improve that. And so maybe that comes down to taking a course on communication and how to
Yeah.
communicate effectively and how to have those hard conversations, like I was saying before. And that, to me, is how you continue to level up and how you continue to
Yeah.
scale and how you continue to move forward.
Yeah, the boss that I had in my last job, he in my annual reviews, like the last 2 years I was there, everything was great, like A+ all across the board, except one thing that he said, so 2 years in a row, is my that I need to work on my emotional intelligence. I need to regulate my emotions, because Ariana's the type of person that I get fired up. If I don't like something, I'm gonna speak up, I'm gonna, get emotional, I am going to get very passionate. And he was like, girl, like, you need to learn how to tone it down. When things are very intense, I get intense. And he's like, I need you to balance that, like, to just keep a cool, chill, collective, demeanor. And I will like get fired up, and he would see that, like, I would get fired up quick, like too passionate, too aggressive, like, take things personally. And I would just say, well, I'm a passionate person. And sometimes he'll let it slide, because he was like, Ariana, I love that you're passionate, I love that you care, but sometimes you care too much, and it gets in the way of you thinking clearly. And it's like, yeah, I gotta learn how to care, but make mindful decisions, and not make decisions based on just my emotions or how I feel or how something affected me, because, business is business and personal is personal. And a lot of the things that I took personal were all just business. And he would say, like, for me to work on that. So I read books on emotional intelligence, and I feel now I'm in a better place when it comes to my regulating my emotions and being self-aware of where I'm at and how I feel, and trying to stay level-headed, taking a deep breath, like taking deep breaths, like people say that, but it's so real. Like when you're feeling chaotic and you're feeling overwhelmed and there's a lot going on in your head, you can't think straight. You can't don't make decisions in those moments. Chill out, like really chill out, stop, breathe, you know? And, you know, I remember at that time when he was telling me that, what, like, I did read books, but that's when I started my therapy, because I was like, I need help. Like,
Mhm.
I felt very overwhelmed. Like, I had a lot going on in my personal life, in my, you know, my business life. And, you know, I remember I went to therapy and I said, I'm getting a lot of anxiety. Like, I am not feeling good. Like, my emotions all over the place. And one of the first things we did for like the first 2 months in therapy was taking
Mhm.
deep breaths, like for 5 minutes at a time every day. And I remember feeling how it would help declutter
Mhm.
my mind. It would help me
Mhm.
get clear really quickly so that I can think straight, which was one of the main things that my boss like really wanted me to do. He wanted me to be passionate and care, but be able to tone it down and think clear and make decisions that are logical and not emotional.
Mhm.
So I know a lot of people that struggle with that. I know I'm not the only one, y'all. I'm just maybe the one that's going to be honest about it. You know, my passionate personality can get me in trouble at times, you know, but it is something that I'm grateful to have. I'm grateful to be so passionate, and I'm grateful to be fiery, and, you know, to go all in on something and want to make it better. But at the same time, I realize that I want to make decisions that are more logical and not just
Mhm.
emotional, because my emotions can sway day to day, but logic is logic, you know? And when you know what you need to do and you know decisions that you need to make, don't let your emotions sway you. So that is something that I am learning, and I'm grateful for that.
Yep.
But, you know, definitely that was feedback. So getting that is important. Even if you don't work on it right away, it plants a seed, knowing that, you know, I want to work on this. I don't want to stay like this. This is not who I am, and I want to stay like this forever. Have that mindset, because, you know, we can change anything in our lives that we find that are hindering us. We can alter any mindset, any behavior. You know, we don't have to stay the way we thought we were, or we were born this way. No, you weren't, sweetie. You were born perfect. You were born, you know, beautiful. You were born, you know, loving, and you were born with a clear mind. So anything that came after that was environment, you know, what people told you, experiences, and all of that can be undone, and all of that can be shifted and changed and altered if you really wanted to. So don't
Yeah.
be like me. For a while, I thought this is just who I am. I'm passionate. You know, now being a business owner, I'm like, girl, I can't be making decisions on my emotions. I gotta chill out. I gotta take a deep breath and think about that some more and get back to that tomorrow. You know, so I do pause more than before and make
Yeah.
sure that whatever I'm doing is in alignment with God and not just my fieriness.
And I mean, something else to think about when you are at a leadership level, everything you do is amplified. So even like that, those small blow ups, when you aren't leading a team, there aren't really a lot of eyes on you. The only real eye on you is your manager, right? But when you're leading a team, everyone on the
Yeah.
team that reports to you is looking to you to see how you respond. It's kind of like they say, like
Yeah.
as parents, when you have children, and I watched this thing. It was so interesting. It was on Instagram the other day, and this guy was talking about fear, and he was saying how when babies are young, they look to their parents because one of the things they develop first is like facial recognition, and they look to
Mm.
their parents to see how parents respond to certain things, and they emulate that. So when it comes to
Mm.
fear, like if let's say you had a parent and they were afraid of snakes, and the parents like and like freaking out, the baby sees the snake and looks to the mom or the parent to see how they respond, and then they emulate that, and that's what helps to kind of build some of the fear-based things that we have is
Wow.
based off of that, which is wild. But like
That's
when you think about it,
crazy.
it plays the same out in business and as a leader. Like your team is looking to you to see how you respond. And that's why I love that you brought up emotional intelligence, because that is so critical. Being able to harness and control your emotions in a way that it's constructive and not destructive
Yep.
is critical to leadership.
Yeah, 100%. You definitely want to make decisions not based out of emotions, because, man, your emotions can definitely play tricks on you. And, you know, you can mess something up. You know, you can mess up a great deal. You can mess up a great business partnership. You can mess up a great marriage, a great relationship with your kids, with your siblings, like your family, because you're not regulating your emotions, right? And you're not able to, you know, see what others are at in a moment as well, and when to approach it, when to have conversations. Like, it can really deter things. So emotional intelligence is huge in life, but since we're specifically talking about developing a great leadership abilities, you know, you want to really hone your emotional intelligence. If this is something like me that you struggle with, you don't want to stay like that. It's definitely possible to shift.
Yep, for sure.
So remember, y'all, if you want to develop into a great, effective leader, be aware of these things that you can do that are at your fingertips. You can get a course, right? You can go to coursera.com and get free leadership certifications and trainings. You can learn from mentors. So if you are in a job, you can ask questions, like seek information, see how people are doing things, and how you can learn to be that as well. You can hire a coach, hire, a mentor. So if you're not in a job, like, these are things that you can do. You can seek feedback, right? You can work on your emotional intelligence. So these are all the things that, we feel are tangible, right? That you can do to be an effective leader. And I hope that you guys got a lot out of this episode. If you need to rewatch it again, because I know that, we spoke a lot. So if there's things that you feel like, okay, I want to kind of rewind, do that and get this information and do something with it, right? Like we research and we prepare for these episodes for you, right? So that you can start implementing these things, because we know that they work. We know that they can make you better, and we know that you want to be better. How do I know you want to be better? Because you've watched till the end. You've watched our part 2, episode on, how to become a great leader, how to be an effective leader, how to develop those skills. And because, you're watching Evolution on the mic, faith in God, faith in yourself, faith in others. So you are someone that wants to be better. And, we're doing our best to provide you with these tools, that God downloads to us to give to you guys. So we definitely hope that that was good for you as it was good for us, creating it and putting it together. And as usual, y'all, if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything that you would like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below. And with that, thank you for tuning in. And until our next episode, always remember that having faith in God, having faith in yourself, and having faith in others will create the evolution that you are seeking.